You're listening to 102.9 WFPRLP, Franklin Public Radio.
Groundhog Day.
Aaron, if you could try again.
Can you hear me now?
Fantastic, thank you very much.
Good.
Time being 7:02, I call to order the Franklin School Committee meeting. Meetings are recorded by Franklin TV and shown on Comcast Channel 9 and Verizon Channel 29, as well as recorded by Franklin Matters. During the middle of this meeting, we will be going into executive session and returning back to open meeting for the rest of the agenda. All right, for our Pledge of Students, so we have something really special today. Oak Street School is proud to introduce its 5th grade scholars and 65 members of the future class of 2032 to recite the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. Oak Street 5th grade teachers and students chose all members of 5th grade to represent Oak Street School because, as a whole, they are leaders in our community. They model our school's ACORN core values and act as positive examples for our younger students. Oak Street 5th graders can be observed demonstrating resilience and perseverance on any given day. They embrace challenges and they take the initiative to solve problems. Our 5th graders are emphatic young people who act with care and integrity for all members of our school. One thing we are focusing on at Oak Street this year is listening. Listening as a way of embracing and including others. This group of 5th graders are determined to be effective communicators, and they know that starts by learning more about the people around them. They are almost halfway through their journey through the Franklin schools, and they are already defining themselves within the portrait of a graduate. Plus, they truly enjoy being around each other and having fun with their teachers. They will continue to take advantage of every day they have together at Oak Street.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much. That was fantastic. I had this song stuck in my head all weekend.
One more time. That's pretty.
All right, so now we got, as is customary, we'll pause for a moment of silence. Review of agenda. Does the agenda look okay to everybody? All right, payment of bills taken care of. Payroll, Vice Chairman Healy.
Payroll's in order.
All right. Now we have FHS student reps.
So to start off with some news for the whole school, this upcoming weekend is homecoming weekend with the pep rally and the homecoming game versus Duxbury on Friday at 7 p.m. And the homecoming dance is Saturday in the FHS gym from 6:30 to 9. Tickets for the dance can be bought on Unipay until September 17th. Connect for Cancer is hosting a pickleball tournament on Saturday, October 12th, in which all the proceeds go to the Nick Strong Foundation. You can sign up with the Google form in the newsletter and pay on Unipay. The winner will get an $100 gift card donated by student government. The FHS Club Fair will be held next Wednesday, September 18th. At this, students during lunch period can walk around, learn, and sign up for clubs at FHS. Spirit Week is also next week, including PJ Day, Beach Day, Sports Day, Croc vs. Birkenstocks Day, and Color Block Day. If you lost your ID, you're able to get a new one for free for the month of September only. Connect for Cancer also has a Chipotle fundraiser on September 18th from 4 to 8 p.m. This allows the club to put on more events and continue to raise awareness at the school. This week, many clubs will be having their first meetings and gaining more members.
For sports, football has an exciting upcoming game this Friday and next Friday with the homecoming game and the Yellow Game for childhood cancer awareness. Girls soccer had a huge win last Thursday with a 3-1 win against Oliver Ames. The boys soccer team is playing KP today in an exciting game. The golf team has had a great start to the season with 3 wins, and tomorrow they take on Canton at 3:30. The girls field hockey team has started off the season undefeated and on Thursday take on Taunton at home at 3:45. And Unified Basketball had a great start to the season yesterday with their first practice.
For the class of 2025 news, we started off the year with a successful Chipotle fundraiser, and we will be having more upcoming fundraisers. Graduation is Friday, June 6th, and the senior post-secondary planning webinar is Thursday, September 12th at 6 p.m. via Zoom.
For news for the class of 2026, the PSATs will be administered Saturday, October 26th, with more information coming soon. And that's all.
Thank you both very much. Any questions from the committee? Actually, we'll start virtual. Erin?
Nope, not for me.
Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Steer, Superintendent's report.
Okay, good evening, everyone out there on Zoom and in person in the newly outfitted council chambers with the chairs. I hope they're comfortable. Just to update on the opening of school, the 24-25 academic school year for Franklin Public Schools has kicked off with a lot of activity. We welcomed back our 4,600 or so students, over 800 faculty and staff and coaches and adults that all work and participate in our students' lives pre-K through age 22 to school to kick off the year. Our FHS leadership and our staff have worked tirelessly to ensure that our facilities, our classrooms, our schools were ready and set up for the opening, and the students were welcomed into the classes. Their dedication and hard work ensured that we were able to successfully kick off this year, and I want to thank everybody personally and also just put a shout out to everyone involved. I wanted to thank our leaders, all of our educators in all of our respective roles within the system, the secretaries, the custodians, our groundskeepers, our cafeteria workers, students and families for all coming together to start this school year off successfully. And as I shared before, schools are the heartbeat of a community, and I'm really, really proud to be leading this district in this particular town as we move forward. And I want to thank everyone for really being focused on this year and making sure this year is special and memorable as we move forward and start off. I have a mass notification update. We sent an email on Monday to all families notifying them that we will be conducting our tests through the ThrillShare mass notification system, and that will go out on Friday at 4 p.m. And the test will send a phone message to the contact numbers that we have within our system. This will be for employees through the Munis database and also for parents through Aspen. And we ask that if people believe that they've received a message in error, they can email Denise Miller to be removed. And if you did not receive a notice on Friday afternoon at 4 p.m., please log into your Aspen if you can, see if your information's correct. Employees can log into Munis and make sure that we have the right information. If there's any issue, Denise Miller can be emailed directly to support any parent, guardian, or staff member as we move forward. Moving on, an update for school safety and visitor management. I want to thank Dr. Rogers for leading this work. And during the last week of August, communication was sent to students, families, and staff, and to share an update on the visitor management process. All schools are now equipped with a double locking entryway, locked vestibule, which was a multi-year capital project which we undertook back beginning in 2018. And through a series of capital requests and movement and participation through the capital program and working with facilities, we're appreciative that we were able to get that done at all of our existing schools. What that means is we can have consistency around visitor management as you enter any building in Franklin, as the same mechanisms exist. As a result, visitors can expect some added safety measures when visiting school campuses for consistency across the district. So all exterior doors are locked at all times and not propped open. Visitors must ring the front buzzer and be in view of the camera and front office staff. All visitors will be asked to state their first and last name, their student's name, and or the reason for their visit. And if they're granted entry into the school, visitors must have proper photo identification, and your ID is left, if your ID is left in your car, you will be asked to go and retrieve it for consistency. And once you are buzzed into the building, we ask that you not hold the door for anyone. In addition, the entry for general material drop-off, homework, lunches will now be left in that locked vestibule area so that you don't have to access the full school building to drop off something. And obviously, if you're invited in for a meeting or you have business to attend to within the school, you would just go through the proper process to enter the building. And we recognize these changes are at this time are occurring, and we appreciate people's cooperation and partnership as we try to ensure the safety and security of our learning environments and our schools for staff and students. And once again, I wanted to thank Tina for her work to work with our secretaries and our school administrative staff and our SROs and everyone involved to make that happen. So I just would kick it over to you, Tina, if you had any comments, or if you've heard anything you wanted to share.
Well, I would just say, generally speaking, we've received some positive feedback, particularly one area that I was keenly focused and aware of is Franklin High School, just because it's a high foot traffic area. And during a visit today, was pleasantly surprised by folks sharing that community has expressed their gratitude for, though it might be like this additional layer of conversation or time, that they appreciate the safety measures in place, and that it really has alleviated quite a bit of in and out, and allowing our front office staff to get the work done that they need to get done and not be buzzing people in for material drop-off and things like that. And I think I would just note one more thing, that just as a change in practice at the high school particularly, knowing that there's 1,400 or so students, when parents are dropping or families are dropping materials off and leaving them in the front office, right now students are going down kind of throughout the day to get those materials, but to ensure that we're not disrupting instructional time, starting on Monday, students will, and this was in the communication, students will only be allowed to retrieve those materials during lunch period or passing periods. So they're communicating that internally, but just wanted to share that as well.
The last piece is just this information, along with other school safety information, can be found on our website. As folks know, we've transitioned to a new website. We continue to update it and provide relevant content and also a layout, but ultimately wanted to share that the visitor management that has been communicated, it will be available and visible as you enter schools, and also on the website as well to keep it front of mind. So we'll follow up with communication on that again as well. That concludes.
Thank you very much. Open for questions or comments?
All good. It's a great safety thing. And do you have the visitors columns, like who is visiting, when they are visiting, and adding their vehicle details and all?
Yes, so when visitors enter, depending upon the reason for their visit, they might just be showing their ID for dismissal, and that's logged. They might be coming in for a meeting and their ID is scanned and they're provided with a pass. So there's always kind of record of who's coming in and maintained in the front office.
That's all, thank you.
No, thanks for everything you've done, keeping the kids safe.
Yeah, thank you for the updates. Great to hear that we have a successful start to the new year, and thank you for the updates on these school safety measures. It's good to hear that we, as a district, are being very proactive when it comes to student safety. So, thank you.
No questions, thank you.
Most of it, thank you. Eric?
No, thanks.
Mr. Callahan, just one last thing. I see Principal Hendrickson and our Assistant Principal, Ms. Donna Krikorian, in the crowd for Oak Street, and they did the pledge. Typically, principals, if there was a live human student in the room, they would have been zoomed in on the camera there, but I just wanted to say, appreciated the thought and idea to do it this way. It was a nice approach. It reminds me when the Patriots ran out together during the first Super Bowl out of the tent. I think we all remember that, and appreciate the video and the work that you put in.
Thank you, it was fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay. So now at this point, the committee will convene in executive session, then return to open session for both to conduct collective bargaining sessions related to the grievance filed by the Franklin Education Association, and to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating positions of the public body, and the chair so declares. Do we have a motion to go into executive session? I believe so, yes.
You have to take a vote, yes.
Yeah, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Motion to enter executive session.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions, discussions? We'll do roll call vote. Gallagher?
Yes.
Griffith?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Callahan, yes. O'Sullivan?
Yes.
Yes. Bob, thank you very much. All right. And we shall be back.
You're listening to 102.9 WFPR-LP, Franklin Public Radio. You're listening to 102.9 WFPR-LP, Franklin Public Radio. This is WFPRLP Franklin on 102.9 FM. listening to 102.9 WFPRLP, Franklin Public Radio. This is WFPRLP, Franklin, on 102.9 FM. You're listening to 102.9 WFPRLP, Franklin Public Radio. You're listening to 102.9 WFPR-LP, Franklin Public Radio. WFPRLP Franklin on 102.9 FM. You're listening to 102.9 WFPRLP, Franklin Public Radio. This is WFPRLP Franklin on 102.9 FM.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna gavel again, because I've got the opportunity. 8:43, which is now resuming. Thank everybody here in council chambers, for those online as well, for hanging out with us that whole time. I don't know what that, I don't know if we have any hold music going on Franklin TV. Well,
Good question.
You know, come back soon, but thank you all very much. So, now moving on, guest presentations none, so discussion action items.
Okay. So tonight, as we discussed last meeting, we will be presenting our district improvement plan as discussed. And then we'll put that up for a vote for approval. So we'll just start. It's going to be a joint presentation. Myself, Mrs. Morano, Dr. Rogers, and our Director of Operations, Colin Guavier, is here as well, just to give some context to the district's plans for this year. And we'll kick it off once that's up and running. Yes, that'd be good. So, as we do every year, we set up our district strategy for improvement through the district improvement plan. Our collective responsibility is really to focus on and I'll try to be brief with some of the slides and stuff in background that we've done, but I just want to make sure it's important that we acknowledge the portrait of a graduate and the work that we're doing to make sure that students walk across that stage and fulfill those particulars. So we start with a reflective and innovative problem solver, having students who walk away and become effective communicators, confident and self-aware, empathetic and productive as citizens, and ultimately curious and creative thinkers. And that's what leads to our portrait of a graduate for Franklin Public Schools. As we move forward, you've seen this before, it's our core values which hit on a variety of areas that ultimately support the work of the portrait of a graduate. As we looked at the strategic planning process, so I'll harken back to last year, and it's pretty cyclical. So our budget development process will start earlier this year, but did start in November of last year. You may recall we had a workshop in January. All of those things, when we think about strategic planning, we're advocating for a budget that supports our ability to educate the students to the highest level with the resources we have. We lead through that process. It was a long spring. And led into the summer, ultimately finalizing a budget in August, and ultimately that process took place during that entire span. In the meantime, in June, we hold our administrative pre-treat. There's summer work that's occurring throughout the season. We had an administrative retreat, which you heard about already, and ultimately we get back to September where we say, here's what our goals based on this series of meetings and the outcomes of all of these particular areas. As we think about bringing focus to our work, it really comes down to these three levels. You have the district level, district-wide. The level-based, meaning your elementary, middle, and high school, early childhood, age 18 to 22 students are all encompassed. Our focus is really around aligning our systems, keeping one foot really focused on this year and making sure that this year is valuable and important to the students that are in the grades that they're in for this year. That was part of the opening day message as well, was around making sure that we're providing the best possible experience we can for 2024-25. And as we move forward, we also need to be planning for 25-26, which you'll hear more about today, and also throughout the fall as well. At the level base, meaning your middle level, your elementary and high school, it's about making sure that we're providing consistent experiences. That benefits us in any year, but particularly as we look to unify a middle school, for example, and look, we want to make sure that some of these consistent learning experiences, this is what we've been working, our educators have been working so hard, our leaders, our instructional leaders have been working hard over time to help us become more and more aligned where it's appropriate to be aligned. And providing equitable resources and allocating that across schools. So no matter which school you attend, you have the same opportunities and equity. And then at the school level, we want to make sure that we're honoring individual school cultures and also the school-specific goals that each school will have, depending on their context and need and goals. So as we move forward, it's all about systems. You've heard me say this many times, and ultimately, aligned systems create the consistent experiences that we expect. So tonight, you'll see there's district improvement plans and there's school improvement plans. Tonight we'll focus on things in orange, okay? But what you'll notice is the strategic objectives and the strategic initiatives exist in the DIP, we call it, District Improvement Plan, an acronym so I don't use too many acronyms without explaining them. And then you have the SIP, which is the School Improvement Plan. I was thinking of those dip and sips when we were kids, if you grew up in the 80s. I don't remember those. Yeah, I just thought of it. So anyway, those are consistent. So you'll notice a through line tonight, and then when you see next meeting, we'll start with the school improvement plans. You'll see that through line to the strategic objectives and initiatives. And then the goals are district level at a broader sense, and then they get more specific into the school level. And then at the district level, we're constantly looking at how are we allocating resources, providing time and professional learning, those things. And then at the school level, school improvement plan, you'll notice the action steps that get a little more detailed on the bigger goal. I hope that makes sense. Anyone who works in an organization, I hope that there's some parallels to understanding like the big idea of the organization, but if you work within a specific department, you definitely get much more granular into the work. I'm moving a little fast so that I keep your attention. Outcomes and evidence are, we'll talk about tonight from the district perspective, but you'll see a through line as we move into the next two meetings where we'll break up the level base so we don't have a barn burner more than it might be. Okay, so our strategic objectives, you'll notice we have our 4 strategic objectives, which are to promote social emotional well-being and belonging of our students and staff, to provide engaging and rigorous curriculum, high-quality instruction to meet the needs of our students academically and in the SEL realm, and then two-way communication to support students in learning. As we look at this, so the first is looking at our tiered systems of behavior, and we'll get into this in more detail in just a moment, but as an overview, and then looking at level-based support and fostering a culture of inclusion and belonging, which has been threaded into each of these goal areas as we move forward. Guaranteed and viable curriculum, you'll hear about it tonight, you'll hear about it in the school improvement plans in more detail, how that looks at each level, quality instructional materials, and then ultimately looking at a predictable curriculum review cycle. Dr. Rogers will hit on that. Our staff capacity around those ideas around consistent learning experiences, it's universally designing practices, and meeting students' needs through a tiered approach based on what students need. And finally, one of the large drivers in goal area 4 is around the pre-K to 8 district reorganization and the work that's happening in that area based on the master plan recommendations and your approval. And finally, you'll see leveraging our website, newsletter, and tools. We'll talk a bit about that tonight. You'll receive some information on that and further communication as we get into the deeper aspects. So with that said, I'll tee it up to just go through. We have 4 of those strategic areas, and I'm going to pass the baton on to Mrs. Morano.
Okay.
Take it away.
Strategic objective 1 is promoting the social emotional well-being and belonging of students and staff. Through our initiatives and action steps, we believe that while enhancing our programs and practices to help our students develop connections to school, and as we support positive behaviors, and we will increase academic achievement. We can promote the well-being of staff. By promoting the well-being of staff, it'll enable each student to acquire the knowledge and attitudes and skills associated with their core competencies of social emotional learning. We will also foster an inclusive environment where diversity is valued and ensuring that all students and staff feel this sense of belonging. So we feel that with that, if we value the diversity of each one of our students and they feel this sense of belonging, that is going to help promote their social emotional well-being. So our action steps that we are proposing are continuing to implement our tiered systems to track, respond, and communicate SEL competencies. As you know, as we go into the reorganization next year, we want to make sure that we have these consistent practices across all 5 elementary schools, the 3 middle schools, and that way expectations are clear and teachers know what every student will hopefully get similar experiences than if we had different things going on. So we're really going to take this year to align those practices and establish consistent SEL instruction and resources. So we were going to consistently use the Panorama Playbook. You've heard heard about Panorama the last few years. We really haven't had a chance to really dive into the playbook, which outlines a number of resources depending on where those lagging skills are. So we're going to take this time this year with our counselors and our staff to really dive deeper into those and unpack those. We'll continue to use the second step across all 5 middle schools consistently and continue that rollout. We've kind of been doing it in pockets, and we're going to continue to do that this year, as well as continue with the zones of regulation, and you'll hear more about some other types of SEL programs that we're going to kind of dip our toes into at both the ECDC level and at the elementary level as well. We're going to continue to do our screening tools with EDECA, DESA, as well as Panorama. We did start the Panorama screenings last year, the surveys with our grades 3 to 5 students as well. I take that back. Grade 5 students and grade 6 students, so we're going to continue that this year and really kind of analyze which type of SEL screening is going to give us the best data and best information, and whether we continue to do DESA and Panorama or just go to one or the other. That's what we're going to take time to explore this year, as well as really look at Aspen and really start at the middle level consistently logging behavior infractions and whatnot into Aspen and really tracking that data as well. By doing all this, we believe we're going to increase student engagement, and then the students will increase their connections and participation in school events and feel that greater sense of belonging in our schools. We're also going to take time this year to build our staff's knowledge on understanding restorative practices through professional development with Katie Novak as well as Dr. Lisa Gallagher. You'll hear more about that later. With that, hope that our office referrals will decrease and we'll have more student engagement. We'll dive deeper, and the schools will dive deeper into all of these action steps when they present their SIPs.
Thank you.
So moving into strategic objective 2, focusing on engaging rigorous curriculum. The goal here of offering engaging and rigorous curriculum and assessments to prepare students. You know, it's a rapidly changing world, 21st century skills, and keeping that portrait of a graduate as the North Star through that process. So there's 2 strategic initiatives within this. One is really implementing and refining curriculum and the curriculum resources that we are putting in front of students and teachers. And the other being 2B, which is assessments, and if you know on the bottom of those, both of them say within a predictable curriculum review cycle. So I'll kind of expand on that a bit. As from a district perspective, that's the system that we're setting up, in which at the building level and through a professional development lens, we can use this phased approach in all content areas and all grade levels. So I'll expand more on that. So specifically, if you think about curriculum resources that have been brought before you over the course of the past few years, illustrative mathematics, Open SciEd, Project Lead the Way, investigating history, HMH. We've also, you know, at the high school focused in on developing our phase 1 of curriculum unit plans that will be published this school year. And so all of those efforts are being made in a cycle of sorts, right? So what we're doing is implementing a 5-year cycle for curriculum review. So at all points in time, every teacher ultimately is in some phase of this review, which enables us to have a predictable fiscal expenditure as it relates to curriculum across the whole district, and then a predictable, being able to allocate time and resources in a very predictable pattern. And also considering, you know, for folks that have taught at the K-5 level, you're teaching all academic contents, and even at the middle and high school, you're teaching, you know, possibly different courses. But particularly at the elementary school, you never want to implement curriculum resources kind of year after year for folks, because it's quite a bit for teachers and students. So we're really working to, within each grade, within each course, within that cycle. So you'll hear more about this cycle throughout the course of the year, but ultimately it's a 5-year cycle in which the phases include monitoring, reflecting, studying, and planning, presenting, and implementing. And then within those cycles, this is when you may recall 2 years ago, there was a planning portion of when the pre-K to 12 group came together for a committee to review and study different resources that were out here. They came to you and presented to you, which resulted in some of the curriculum development at the high school, some of the implementation around the K-8 curriculum. And so that's just one example of, they were in that kind of planning stage, and then they went to the present stage, and now they are implementing, and then they'll continue to monitor. So these are just some examples. Again, the levels will expand upon these more when they come to share with you in the next 2 school committee meetings. But some folks are working on refining assessment. Some folks are working on expanding tier 2 and 3 interventions, specifically in literacy and math. I would say here is where, you know, the word expand, we are working to expand, but we were having conversations of, is this maintain or expand? Because based on our budget this current school year, we had to make some reductions. And as a result of those reductions, some folks that were charged by and large with being responsible for a lot of this work, of tracking the data for this work, of working with interventionists and things of that nature, those roles, we know that we had to reduce some of those roles. And so we really are trying to be very thoughtful about how we work. We certainly are maintaining and sustaining, but how are we expanding? We're being very thoughtful about, given the resources that we have. So I just wanted to make a note of that in this. But so the anticipated outcomes continue to be equitable access, high quality curriculum, reflection, as I explained, on instructional materials, and enhancement of assessment tools.
Just to follow up on that too, things such as summer work opportunities are gone from the district. That's often a time where we can be really clear and specific around a deliverable by the end of the year where we'd like to engage our educators in to help move some of the curriculum. We've seen that as an opportunity to kind of move something forward at a pretty efficient pace. That went away in addition to the roles Dr. Rogers mentioned. And you know, we are an academic institution, right? Education is our work. It would be equivalent to having a research and development department of an organization that if you strip it away, you don't continue to evolve and expand at the same rate. So multi-year plans become more multi-year, right? That's not really a word, but you understand the point around these things get delayed, or you take on what you can to get done, because we're constantly looking to move forward. But wanted to just put that out there just to reiterate and support what you said.
So as we move into the instructional part, the instructional strategic objective, here we're really working to develop staff capacity as it relates to universally designed practices. And then again, you see here maintaining and aligning these tiered processes, supporting, monitoring, communicating academic goals. So I can
Sure.
So we are very specifically and intentionally allocating resources to build capacity to deepen our collective understanding as a district collectively and as individuals around universally designed practices. UDL isn't like the checklist, and this is what we talked about kind of on opening day with folks as a prelude. It's not a checklist, but it's rather how we do school. And so universally designing our system is the goal. And so this year, you know, staff were again provided with the next phase of a sample professional practice goal. Folks are really engaging in book clubs, and virtual learning opportunities. There's collaborative learning opportunities. We're really trying to expand and enhance our professional learning opportunities for folks under the keen focus of universally designing our instructional practices and systems. And with that, teachers and administrators need the professional learning, but they also need the feedback and the conversation loop to have it be a reflective practice. So we've also allocated quite a bit of time with our admin team to ensure that there's kind of that back and forth dialogue with teachers in the classroom, and there's a sharing. There's so many great things happening in every single classroom, and I think oftentimes we want to bring the experts into us, and oftentimes those experts are right in these classrooms here in the district. And so we're really trying to find opportunities to engage our teachers in sharing their knowledge. So we're hoping to see more of that, especially this year. We've orchestrated a couple of our October and November professional development days that we're excited about the opportunities that what folks are already sharing, their desire to kind of collaborate and connect and facilitate types of sessions like that. And then additionally, in just maintaining tiered systems with a focus on data collection, specifically middle school and high school as well, and deepening how they use Panorama. We, again, allocating time and resources to that. And so the outcomes here, professional learning plan, we sent an email to all staff. We actually are going to have a password protected part of our website in the Office of Teaching and Learning that's going to provide staff with a pretty detailed plan, which we can share with you all, that overviews the year and then also provides additional professional learning opportunities that are beyond. It's not, professional learning isn't just the days that we have them, half days and full days here. Again, to Mrs. Morano's point, we're using data to drive conversations and continuing to align our tier structures intentionally especially with our reorganization happening.
And then this year, we will also be rolling out the new special ed, the new IEP form. It's a new form that the Department of Ed put out. We started with training last year, kind of rolling it out slowly to our special educators and our general educators and families, but this year we have to start implementing that. So with every new IEP meeting, annual review, and re-eval and initial eval, we'll be rolling out the new form. And it's a more in-depth form. It's going to be a huge learning curve for not only our special educators, but also our general educators and our families. It's a quite detailed form, but it really, really focuses on data and bringing data to the table and talking and discussing where the student is and how that student, what supports and services that student needs to make progress. And I know that's what we've been talking about, but it really focuses on that data, and it also includes a lot of student input, including our youngest learners, our 3- and 5-year-olds, who are actually talking to us about their vision and what they want to learn in the next year. So it's a really exciting opportunity, but there's going to be, it's going to take time, and it's going to take patience and flexibility this whole year. So it was really important that our administrators felt that it was important to put it as one of our strategic initiatives as well as outcomes this coming year.
Final objective, it's effective two-way communication is the overall, our overarching goal, but ultimately there's two areas. There's executing the pre-K through 8 district reorganization in accordance with the plan, but also looking to increase and enhance our communication and leverage our tools, such as our website, our newsletter. I talked about mass notification, which is kind of like the standard, but there's so many other things and ways that we want to engage, and we have tools that we're learning to use at this point through our new system that allow us to provide feeds and news updates and use an app and leverage social media in an efficient way. And I think that's exciting work, particularly as it connects to all of the different pieces of all of the things happening within the district that we want to celebrate, but also communicate in a variety of ways. So with that said, I'm going to kick it over to Colin, and I'll chime in for different parts.
So for some of the action steps involved with this part of the strategic objective would be providing the communication and mechanisms for students, staff, and families regarding the reorganization. Community involvement through school-based events and engagement opportunities. This would be events like open houses and tours, or even school-level committees to build culture within the schools, with the goal of creating a positive, inclusive school culture at all schools that support a successful learning environment and meet all the needs of students. We'd also encourage anybody who's interested in volunteering to fill out the reorganization community volunteer form that's posted on the website, and looking to strengthen communication through enhanced tools like newsletters, story map, websites, and social media, as mentioned. Some of the anticipated outcomes would be the successful reorganization of all K-8 schools in accordance with the master plan by the start of the 25-26 school year, and resource allocation including classrooms, staff, resources, support services, and extracurricular programs, looking to redistribute to improve the educational outcomes, and then regularly update content across all communication platforms with important information.
So the timing of our DIP presentation falls as we've kicked off the year. One thing we felt really strongly about was making sure that we started this year off, we talked about this in the summer, started this year off by honoring the year ahead of us and making sure that we're doing the work for the kids in front of us. One of the messages around the 3-foot rule, I talked a little bit about that, but the idea of how are we engaging with what's 3 feet in front of us? And also, how are we keeping one eye ahead of what we're doing? We're about to embark on many more steps to the reorg process where more information will come. We're hitting that point now where this year is off the ground. Students, we need to get kids, we'll have a transportation update later, classes, getting students settled, working through some of the logistics as you start a year. And I just have to give a shout out to the entire team that pulled off what we were able to pull off to get this year off the ground. It gives me confidence for in future projects, but the information we have been working with throughout the spring and into the summer to deliver on this school year to open up in the manner we did and how we were able to is really a result of the work of the folks that I'm surrounded by and folks that are not near me right now. Our leaders, many, and they take many forms to get us off the ground and have the footing we have based on what we experienced over the spring and into the summer, and the reductions in all of the pieces that took place to land where we have at this point and keep an eye focused on not just making sure this year's high quality, but trying to make sure that we're planning thoughtfully. So we're going to put out a few pieces of information so you can get a sense of where we're at, because the biggest piece of the reorg right now is the boundary. There's one line that would exist based on the recommendation, and that would be for students to attend elementary school on Lincoln Street in the north and on Washington Street in the south. And we've done a tremendous amount of work in the background to try to make sure that we're providing information to all of you. I'm going to let Colin walk through this particular timeline. And Colin, I think when you get to story map, I don't want to assume that's an understood thing. I just would think it would be good to maybe hit on that a bit too and explain what we're talking about.
Yeah, sure. So coming up for reorganization, the third one down is when the next school committee on the 24th will be ready with an elementary boundary line recommendation presentation. We will also have a reorganization timeline and an update on progress as well, and a little bit more of a comprehensive timeline of what's coming. A lot of it is contingent on the boundary line, so once that gets established, we really can build out more from there. A story map will also be released in September, and a story map is an interactive map, and it really is going to tell a story about what's happening with the new schools. So it's going to give a lot of information and data about the schools. It's going to show the administrative structures. It's going to be interactive in different things that it shows, and because of the data we can show on it, it will become a living map ultimately. So as we introduce the boundary line recommendation with the story map, it will continue to grow and provide information and become a communication tool going forward as well. So that will be coming in September as well. Occurring between September and October, we're going to be send out another staff survey as we have some new staff members and new information to provide. So we want to make sure that all the most up-to-date information is given to staff so they can complete the survey. On October 8th, the school committee will vote on the boundary line recommendation, and then pending the vote into November, there'll be a phased school-based planning and staff assignment. So it'll start with classroom teachers, and then they'll be phased in as far as staff placements by role at that point.
If I could just add, our goal is to publish the story map ahead of the 24th meeting presentation so that that information is out there for the community. And then it still provides an opportunity to then share it, to publicly present it on the 24th for no vote, but to share it so that you have the opportunity and the community has the opportunity to not only have access to that information, but also hear about it in context at the 24th meeting. And then ultimately, a lot of the follow-up steps that happen after is based on where students will attend. That's how we establish the school communities. That's where we can start to have direct communication and opportunities to engage from the building leaders of those future schools to engage with their community. Because what we can do is start to pre-populate based on where students would be assigned to a future school that we set up so that emails can be sent out and that we can start to build out those plans and what that would look like. The only other thing that was on here was school improvement plans. Just to be clear, ECDC and elementary are scheduled for next meeting, and then middle and high would be the following meeting. We broke those up because of time and just trying to be mindful of trying to spread those out, but I think by October 8th, I think we're consistent with the past on how we've presented to get those in, but then it's also in context to having a boundary line presentation. And the final thing I would mention is the school website. It's up and running. We continue to work on that and evolve it. At Back to School Night, you'll see QR codes to sign up for the app. We're also going to be sending a direct mail to all families. We have a verification going out on Friday where we want to make sure we have the most up-to-date information, and that will be one of the first communications that will be sent once we've given folks an opportunity to have that. And I think that will be a great tool to move forward with as well. And that concludes the DIP presentation. We're happy to take any questions that you have, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Before I kick it off, I do just want to say, just from a presentation standpoint, there's been, you guys, over the years, just a continual improvement on just how the material is presented within these PowerPoints. It's clear, it's articulate, it reads well. No shade to anything in the past, but there's definitely been a gradual improvement as I've been here on board. So I really want to, this one stood out as spectacular, as a lot of the work that you guys have been kind of putting forward, but thank you so much. I know a lot goes into just this.
And a lot of people.
Absolutely, yeah, you're the entire team. But a lot that goes into this, I appreciate it. But that said, we'll start down here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another great presentation by Lucas team. Thank you so much. It's been so much improvement to our presentation since I started as a committee member. And in the recommendation strategic plan, is there any strategic plan for the underperformed students?
Strategic plan for underperforming students?
Yeah, is there any?
It's a very good question. So when we look at the tiered intervention, I think that's where Dr. Rogers' comments around making sure that we're designing instruction for all students is really meant, the heart of that is looking at where are kids on the scale. And I have a great analogy. I was going to not share it, but since the follower came, I will. I just started working out again. You can't tell, you probably won't ever tell. But I started going to gym, and I will tell you, I'm sitting there like kind of geeking out. I show up. If this was a tiered situation, I'd probably be like tier 5, 6 maybe. Mobility is tough, but my point of it all is when I walk into that gym, it's very clear that whoever is coaching is preparing for a wide variety of athletes. But they're basically looking at the person in front of them, and they're saying, okay, how do I need to scale this for me? So I have to put little plates under my heels because I can't squat correctly. I have to use a training bar because I can't get full mobility over my head. So the person has thought about me before I've entered, right? So that idea of I'm an underperforming student in this gym, and I say it, I own it, and I'm working towards being less efficient, but I know where I am right now and I have goals in that area. But that person who is coaching has already thought of what do they need to do to scale this so that I can access it. Now, I happen to have a friend who goes to the same gym and can perform all the exercises the way they're intended to be. That person is also given, and we're working out at the same time, and they figured out a way for it to work. So what I would say is the beauty of a UDL approach is really looking at how are we designing today's lesson, and think of my analogy, so that anyone who walks through has a way to move and make progress towards their own individual goals, because my goals are different than that my friend, right? right, who's in the same boat. So that's how I would explain UDL if I was to try to make an analogy like that.
Yeah, thank you. That's all. Looking forward on September 24th planning.
Thank you.
All right. I will be quick. I did bump into your partner and heard that you're going to the gym at 5:15 in the
I
morning.
don't know how you heard that.
I don't even
Okay.
understand how you're doing that because of your lifestyle with this job, but good for you. All the energy in the world. I have all the confidence in the world in you guys. I heard you say kind of I have the confidence in my team. Yeah, I mean, you guys are rock stars. And it's so good to see you up here, Colin. It's like, it's great to have you as part of the admin team. I'm preparing for tomorrow. This is great. You guys are the experts. I have nothing to say to this. This is like exactly what like you should be doing. It's like I'm so psyched that my kids are in this district and that you guys are taking care of them. I'm disappointed that you're under-resourced because I know that there are things that you can't do. And when you convey that to us, and this has always kind of been the conundrum, it's sort of delicate. It's like, you know, we're here to do the ultimate job with what we have. But I don't want to put you on the spot, and I don't want to take up a ton of time. People want to get home and see the debate and whatnot. But when you can't move forward with tier 1, tier 2 math literacy, the things that you want to do, I want to be able to kind of convey that to the larger community in a way that's can be translated. So to your point, I think that the presentation itself was really simplified and really good. I feel like you guys get put in the spot to create such granular details about every decision. I don't want you to have to do that anymore. I want to go to bat for you and have your backs and advocate that we should be trusting our experts. So I guess just let us know what we're missing out on, what Franklin could be. I think tomorrow we're going to meet as a joint budget subcommittee, and it's going to be the beginning of the next budget. And I feel bad. You guys just all you do, especially Lucas, all you do is budget, 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 budget. Right, Jenna? Budget. It's all anyone talks about. It's like, how do you even get all of this work done? So I just don't know how you're doing it with the bandwidth you have and things. So I know the town council at the last meeting said, hey, can we get the schools in here? We want to check and see how they're doing. I thought what they were going to say is, based on all the cuts that they just made, all the lack of resources they have, they're trying to redistrict, but it was about, see how they're doing with the migrants. So I just, we're up against it here in Franklin, big time. So I don't know how to convey that we're struggling and what we're missing out on while not disparaging the hard work we're doing. It's such a conundrum. So just keep that in mind and just try to give us the tools to be able to tell those stories. And you do a great job with that. You did all last year, but I'm trying not to take you on tour around the whole town just doing budget talks all the time. But it's still my goal to get you better resourced, because I just think about what we could be doing sometimes if you just had more capable adults. So I don't have a lot of questions because I know you guys are rock stars. So that's all I got to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you guys for not just the presentation, but putting this whole district improvement plan together, really visioning out and building upon what we've been doing over the last few years to have just a coherent game plan for improvements, with the universal designs for learning, with our tiered supports, with our data usage, and just seeing all, from these presentations in the past, all the different steps and the different goals they set year over year, and seeing them come to fruition and seeing them get expanded upon. It's really, really encouraging, and thank you for the hard work you're doing on. So I think all the questions I had were answered and addressed in your presentation. So thank you for that. It's encouraging to see just how everything is building upon each other and continuing to progress. So thank you very much, and we're looking forward to the reorganization presentation in the future, as well as the individual school improvement plan. So thank you.
All right. To echo my colleagues, definitely a great presentation in terms of the detail, the clarity, just the information. But I do have some questions as well, just to piggyback on the things that you've said. I guess, what are the thoughts or the possibility of getting this ready sooner, so in August, so that it's prior to the start of school?
I'm sorry, which?
Sorry,
this
dip,
plan?
yeah, the dip.
If you're speaking our dream language now, Mr. Charles. The idea is to have a retreat. Some districts do a retreat in July, like the last week of July, and then August is really about prep for school, get things squared away. I'm very sorry about that. What I will tell you is we were spending a large amount of time hiring or rehiring through August. So the plans, and we tried to go through an exercise where we're developing plans that are context specific to the district, building off of previous goals, seeking some input of how we'll move forward. Ideally, planning for that, if we had secured our budget and our staffing, right, secured that staffing sooner in the season, and we weren't able to do that last year, or I can't think of a year we've been able to do that at the same rate as some of the other districts, but ultimately coming out of April break, many districts are either wrapping up or have finalized their budget, kind of know good, bad, indifferent, what it is, and then they're able to plan effectively from May and June to either get the staffing that they know they will have within their budget, and then they work on the plans as you wrap up the school year. So our pre-treat, which is always scheduled the day after school gets out, in effect, if you were able to have the information you needed to make decisions in the April or May timeframe, you in essence could look to do a retreat right after school got out, before 4th of July, or after it if you wanted to give people a break, and then reconvene. But what we've had to do, I think our timeline has pushed us, because then I could see when we do handbooks, we're trying to think about how could we back some of this up. Could a handbook come in the July meeting, and then could a dip and sit presentation happen in August before the school year gets kicked off? And then now we've started the year with those things done, and then we get into the business and routine of the school year. So there is an opportunity to think about the pace, but I think it's always predicated on what's your situation as far as have you fielded the team? And then ultimately you can't really plan until you know who you're planning for. I think that's what I would say.
Okay, thank you. So just to make sure I'm understanding correctly, this is a byproduct of the budgetary situation. And when we talk about what's the impact because of the budget, this is a non-monetary impact because
Correct.
You're doing all this work now because you couldn't do it in advance. Also, and it's not just the school, it's the whole process in terms of the town budget is allocated too late. If that was sooner in the year, you would know exactly how much you're getting so you could do your work and go forth. Is that the correct assumption?
I think, and I've been a proponent of having a timeline. I think this year we're going to be working together collaboratively to look at moving up. I think we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll hear about that tomorrow. But I think there's an effort to want to have some predetermined information that helps us all. And I think I support that wholeheartedly. I've been a huge proponent of having a moved up timeline. Just for the sake of the way our cycle works in schools, your fiscal year starts July 1, but ultimately, if people were planning to leave a district and your hiring phase is occurring in April and May, you now have people who are actually looking to either move or leave or whatever the case is. So then what it is you're in that prime hiring season. If you don't have information or information changes where you're bringing, adding positions that you weren't sure would, and you're doing that over the summer, most people, the majority of employees have pretty much determined where they're going to work in the fall, and I think that's part of that. That's like a secondary effect of that. And I've said that before. I maintain that a stable budget and an earlier timeline puts the district in the best position to have more selection for employees, but also to have a better plan to move forward and have the time we need to do the actual work. And this team, and people not here, and on our entire team worked really hard over the summer. With what we get done, and I'll just say this, having worked in other districts and also have been in education and been in leadership for almost 20 years, what we're able to pull off, I think it's a credit to the team and the folks that work across the district, not just us, but to make that happen. So I'm grateful, and I think that's a huge benefit to me and a draw for me is the people around that help us deliver. But I just imagine what could happen if we had some of these things determined and the resources we need to support the work that we're doing in a different time frame. I can only imagine what could happen.
Great, yep, thank you. So my next question, and to bring back up your workout analogy, when you're working out, you measure your progress, right? You know where you started and you know where you're going to end, so at least you can see your growth over time and see, are you on track, are you off track, do you want to ramp it up, pull it back, whatever the case may be. How are we measuring our progress against these goals?
I can speak to it, but I think if you want to hit on maybe SEL, you referenced it a little bit on the screening tools that we have. Do you guys want to hit on that? Sure. I can fill in.
So I think some measurement, when I think about like our universal design for learning goals specifically as one example, measurement tools are surveys from our staff, observation data, informal conversations with principals. We have standing meetings with building leaders and we do learning walks with them. So part of that is conversations around very specific goal areas connected to universal design for learning and instructional practices to see where can we gear kind of some professional learning. So that's one example of how we would measure that success. I would say another example around curriculum implementation and revision so this is a draft form right now of our curriculum revision process, but with a clearly defined process, we have a predictable fiscal expenditures for curriculum. So that's just a tool of measure where we're not, for a few years now that, the past 4 years I've been here, there's been a number of years where there's been curriculum purchases that were needed that weren't necessarily known. And I think that this is another measure of us having that predictability. I would say that assessment data, student assessment data, is a very clear measure of curriculum implementation. Some preliminary MCAS data does show our students already making progress in ELA just after 1 year of curriculum implementation. Typically, you don't see an increase in student growth specifically for 2 to 3 years after a curriculum implementation, and we're seeing some upticks there already and have been seeing that trajectory in math since the implementation. I think we're in year 4 now. So I think those are some that kind of come to light, and then we're also, as we have our panorama data, which I know Paula will hit a little bit on SEL, but there's also some academic measures in there. We're building that system out, but we will be able to track and monitor students that receive the tiered supports throughout time and what their growth measure looks like, because we'll have kind of a full scope of many different data points for that specific student. So those are some examples that kind of come to mind.
And it's very similar in the SEL realm. So the screening data, the data we get from our SEL screenings, as well as the progress monitoring data, that data, as we implement the second step curriculum more consistently, we'll get to, and then use the screening data and the progress monitoring data, we'll get to see if we get progress in that area. As Tina said, walkthroughs, seeing, teachers consistently using the language from the second step lessons at the elementary level, we'll get to see that. And as, with our panorama, tracking that attendance data, having those robust discussions at the data meetings and IST meetings, using that data more consistently, that's how we'll know we're making progress.
Final piece I mentioned is just with relation to the reorg is around, we're going to be providing you with that story map, but also a timeline with some deliverables that are basically will be scheduled throughout the year, and ultimately being able to provide not only the update, but whatever the deliverable, either information or decisions or whatnot that need to be made as we move forward through that process. So that's what I would put out, and having that mapped out, I think that's what we can look forward to in the next meeting as well.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I think this is all predicated based off of budget and resources. So once again, if we had the folks, we had the time, you would be able to do the nice to haves, but you're focused on the need to haves at this point. But ideally, like once we have these DIP presentations and they're pulled together, if we have where are we now as of today documented in like specific metrics or categories that we're looking at, so that come end of the year when we look back, we could look at those exact same metrics and say, okay, yep, we've moved 10 percentage points improvement in whatever category, whatever the case may be. But once again, that's all predicated based off of resources, funding, because we know you do a lot of work, and there's not that much time in the day, and there's more important things to do from a immediacy in front of the students and making sure that they're all set. But nice wish. So, thank you.
So thanks again for the presentation. My main question is actually around the story map and all the information we're going to have coming out there. Are we going to have that sent out through email? Are we going to have stuff up on the website? I just want to make sure that parents have a good source to get all that information.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to do a combination of that. Yeah, I'd say it will be available on the reorg website, and it will be sent out to the community.
We're going to direct email that to the community just so that we can share the story map and introduce it. It will have information about a lot of different aspects, including the boundary. So that seemed to be the best tool. It's been used, and we're fortunate. I want to thank our partner, the GIS, the GIS director. You wanted to speak and just thank her publicly?
Yeah, Kate Hinckley has been wonderful to work with. So she took a lot of the information that we provided, and she really made it come to life. So she's really the engineer behind it.
So that's just one tool to convey information related to the rear. There are other tools that we have. But to answer your question, posting it on the website, but also sending it out to the community in an email so that people know and are cued in, I think was maybe the detail we were looking for. And as we share this, and then ultimately have an opportunity to share it publicly during a meeting before it comes to a vote in the follow-up meeting. And it feels like that's the proper progression. Attendance boundary lines, I don't want to make it about that discussion now, but a lot of analysis has gone into this, and we'll be prepared with a recommendation and rationale for how that's determined, and we can talk about that at the next meeting.
And if I could just request, anytime we're sending out emails regarding the redistricting, could we make sure that we link that website in the emails, even if you've just updated people with everything in that email, just so that we always have that resource where people can easily click back, even if that's the first time they're tuning in?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
And Erin.
I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
All right, terrific. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, you have more questions. Do you have?
No, I'm all good. And so, being a discussion action item. You got the language for?
Yep, I do. I recommend approval of the 24-25 district improvement plan as discussed.
All right, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the 24-25 district improvement plan as discussed.
Second.
Second.
All right, any other discussions, questions, comments? All right, seeing none, will be a roll call vote. Gallagher?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
O'Sullivan?
Yes.
Sunfall?
Yes.
Callahan, yes. All right, motion passes.
Thank you.
Up next, Franklin TV Board appointment.
Okay, in your packet, you'll find a board appointment. It's a board appointment for Rose Turco, who has been the board's appointed person to represent the district. And we're recommending, again, this appointment comes every 3 years from Franklin TV. So this is the first time this committee in this totality has been recommended for this. So I recommend the appointment of Rose Turco to the Franklin TV Board for the 2024 through 2027 school years as discussed.
All right, is there a motion as discussed?
Motion to appoint Rose Turco to the Franklin TV Board for 2024 through 2027 as discussed.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, before discussions, questions, actually I want to ask if Mrs. Steve Sherlock can come and give a little bit of background on this appointment.
Yes, Steve Sherlock, 13 Magnolia Drive, Community Information Director for Franklin Matters, Franklin Public Radio. Yeah, a little background is always helpful, I think, on this. So back in 2010 or thereabouts, there had been an existing cable organization. They brought in Pete Fasciano. They went through a reorg, new structures, et cetera, in collaboration with the town, as the town was going to be providing the funding to this new, not 501c3. They respectfully wanted to have some say in the game on the board, so the town has 2 seats appointed through the town council, and the schools have 1, this one. So there's 3 members representing the town interests on the cable board to oversee, like you do, hire an executive director, manage the budget, et cetera, et cetera. So that's the similar position here. The cable coordination clearly has a contract with the town, which is why these cable services are provided. So the broadcast and all that details is done based upon the money we have that's budgeted. Town council gets, and all the Comcast and Verizon subscribers on your cable bill, there's a PEG access fee, public educational government. This would be on the education side, but it's on the government channel. And losing my train of thought. So the oversight is what that role plays. Because of the success of the current board, in the last contract renegotiation, they actually allowed the board to expand by 2 additional members, which is why I'm now a member of the board with Jim Derrick, because in that expansion, the 2 additional members were added, and I was one of the 2. So hopefully it gives you a little bit more background in terms of the cable operation. We do have a contract with the town to deliver these services. And if anything else, I can certainly answer.
Thank you very much, Steve. And I do want to say too, over the weekend, spoke with Pete Fasciano, he gave a global recommendation. Ms. Turco, the work that she's already done on the board as well. But if there's any other questions, comments? Okay, all right, seeing none, vote will come on a roll call. Gallagher?
Yes.
Griffin?
Yes.
Charles?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
O'Sullivan?
Yes.
Sonpali?
Yes.
Callahan passes. Terrific. Mr. Turco and Steve, thank you as always. Discussion only items, staffing report.
Okay, staffing report, as we've provided since the summer, as we start the school year. Mr. Storlazzi, our Human Resources Director, did complete this, and it's relevant updated as of September 10th. We filled 57 positions. We currently have 4 teacher vacancies, 10 ESPs and 11 non-union vacancies. We have several candidates that are within the hiring pipeline in various phases. We've received this season a total of 56 resignations, and these resignations, most were received within the last 2 weeks and have been from ESPs and permanent building subs. And below is a breakdown for you in your packet. We provided the August 27th update, and then so you could compare it to the September 10th update. And I'm happy to answer any questions on behalf of Mr. Storlazzi and the HR department. Just to reiterate, I know this question came up before from Mr. Charles. We have exit interviews. We offer them, and we also added a link to a survey if someone didn't choose to want to sit in an interview. Not everyone takes us up on that opportunity, but some have. We have looked at that in the HR department and to just look at it and see if there are common themes. And if there's more information to share once they've done their analysis. It's been pretty much hiring has been the focus right now, but certainly I think there's value in learning from what people said as they exit, and how do we learn from that and move forward. But ultimately, a lot of the shifts most recently have been around folks seeking other opportunities. If they were a long-term building sub, some of the ESPs have moved, either shifted in different roles. So that's the staff update. If anyone on my team wishes to share any other official information, that's what we learned from our HR meeting today.
Any questions, comments?
No, I appreciate the work, trying to fill these.
Yep, I do. So comparing last update to this, so we've had 8 more resignations since. Is that common? Like,
No. No, it's not. And thank you for asking the question. It's not common that we would see that. We have seen more movement. So part of it is looking at the industry and education in general compared to our experience in Franklin. And I think I would be, I think I'd be guessing if I was to say every person's individual motive, but that is unique for once a school year starts, you typically start to see resignations kind of decrease. People are established to work within a school year, but we have seen more movement. And I know I've spoken to a few of my colleagues who've seen resignations. I don't know how many or what their history has been, but to see fall resignations occur is less likely than we typically see. Most of the time, it's the spring market or the summer where we see it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I guess, I know years past, there's talk around, there's less folks going into the education industry. It's not tied to this. Is it more tied to, once again, our budget, and is the reputation of Franklin becoming a not desirable place for educators?
I think the instability we've experienced, I would say that that's a factor. I think instability, if I was working in a position I wasn't sure that I had it and I had another opportunity, there might be less incentive to want to stay within a role if I could move to a different role. I think that would be human nature. I have, some people have referenced that in their resignations throughout the summer. The more recent ones this fall, I haven't seen that type of pattern. We have to do a little more of a deeper dive. But I think if we could stabilize ourselves and get ourselves in a stable position, I think, and have a timeline that works differently, I think we could set ourselves up to see less resignations and have people feel more stable. And that was a comment I did reference throughout the budget process. It was one of the slides I had around trying to not only preserve what we have, but also create some stability so that we have less, I forgot the word I used, but it was around.
Volatility.
Yeah, thank you.
I can't speak.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. You guys do listen. That's great. Just kidding. Yeah, less volatility. So thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Can I add one, just piece? What I would say as well is that in some of the interviews that I have been a part of this past summer and into this fall, I would say some of the candidates that I've been interviewing have asked specifically about the sustainability of their current job, given the dynamics kind of that are at play. So I think folks coming in, it's on the radar for them.
No questions, but thank you for the update.
I have no questions either. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric?
No questions for me.
Appreciate this, please let Ken know.
Mhm.
I greatly appreciate this as well. I'd love to see if we can kind of have this continue as well.
Sure.
I know a couple of years back, we had the whole physics teacher issue, just to be able to kind of go
Yep.
see this, track it, look at those trends. And unfortunately, my colleague mentioned, it really kind of points to a broader picture of the financial crisis that we're in. But thank you all, very much, appreciate it. And transportation update?
I'm going to kick it over to Ms. Malati, our transportation, well, she's our school business administrator, but she's been operating.
Feels like
in
a transportation.
She's definitely been
Oh, yeah,
operating
coordinator.
to help support the transportation department in a hands-on way. I think I would just say that I appreciate you taking the steps that you've taken to really engage in this and try to help problem solve. And I won't steal your thunder, but I'm happy to pass the mic on to you so you can provide an update this meeting compared to last meeting and the progress that was made.
Good evening, everyone. I'm not such a good public speaker as Mr. Jagir, but let me try. So this update that I'm providing to you now, it's just where we are transportation-wise compared to a couple weeks ago. The bus passes are currently available at your child's school. If your child hasn't received the bus pass, please send us an email and we'll make sure that your child has a bus pass by Friday, the 13th. The bus drivers will start to check bus passes on Monday. So if you don't have a bus pass, please reach out to us, to the schoolbus@franklinps.net, so we can try to help you and send the bus pass to your school as soon as possible. Those who registered and paid after July 31st will continue to be waitlisted. If you haven't registered and require a bus, you can go to Aspen and you can add your name. You can register in Aspen and then you will be waitlisted. Once the spot becomes available, we will assign and send you an email directly with the assignment. Our wait list 2 weeks ago had 52 students. We are down to 6 waitlisted students. I am confident that we can assign most of them by the end of the week. I have sent out an email was sent out tonight to all families that received, the waitlisted families that received the bus assignment this afternoon. If you haven't received a bus assignment, an email from me, please reach out and I'll try to assign you. And if you have, finally, if you still have a balance, if you still have an open balance, please go to Unipay to make a payment. If you still need financial assistance, you can go to the finance or transportation page and click just on the financial assistance form to request any kind of aid. We can work out payment plans. We want to make sure that all kids get to and from school safely. I think that's it for me.
I would add, the 6 that remain and the 52 were all after the deadline. We acknowledged last meeting that our communication around this information when people registered, we have plans to tighten up that system so that we are clear and there's clear indications that when a deadline's extended, we will continue to communicate and we will look to even improve our communication so that we don't have what occurred happens. On the flip side of that, I'm asking the community to please, when we provide a deadline, we will communicate it direct email. We're asking people to please do that because it does help us plan for the buses that we do need, for one. 2, there's a lot of misinformation out there on Facebook that was not helpful, resulted in a tremendous amount of emails that were either misinformed or created a lot of divisiveness, anger within the community, and I have to say it wasn't accurate completely. And I think we will do a better job as a district in communicating and providing the information. We'll create, we'll have timelines, we'll directly email them. We'll make sure that we're communicating, whether you're on a wait list or similar to the system in place now, will exist right from the start, so that we can make sure, I think in fairness to people who are looking for transportation, they have information and they can reference it. And we will do that part. We're just asking that this be a true partnership, and we're asking for families to do the same by adhering to those timelines, being clear on those communications and looking at that, and then the amount of kind of information that was out there and misinformed, I don't think was helpful to this. It actually slowed us down from getting to solutions, but we're working through it. So I'm saying that as just an acknowledgement on both sides of this and how we can all move forward and do better. But my staff, certainly, we know those pieces. I've acknowledged where we'll improve, but I need to also defend my staff on some of the way they've been treated through this process, and I don't feel that it was helpful, and I felt like it was unnecessary. And I think we can all do better, and that's an acknowledgement on our end, but also on folks to make sure that they're meeting those timelines.
Yeah, I heard great stories about the transportation in the past year, and how you guys solved it within a rapid speed, they're very happy with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a quick question, when somebody's, if a bus driver's having a problem with students, what does that look like? Who does that filter up to? Like, is that you too, Jonna?
Yes. Jack of all trades. Yes, so we do have a report form. Very simple. It's a 1-page. So when the bus driver starts with the verbal warning, And if the issue continues to happen, the same bus driver would just fill out that form at the end of the route, and then they'll give that to the secretary at the transportation company, and she's gonna scan those reports to me. And then I'll just populate that information into our database and contact the admin team in which the school the incident is happening.
Okay. And then you guys just handle it the way you handle it. Yeah, that's the only question I have. Thanks for wearing all your hats. Thanks for everybody wearing all the call and doing the food service and everything. Getting it done. So, thanks.
No questions, but I'd just like to say thank you, Jonna, for all the work you've been doing on this. I mean, it's been a complex issue, particularly you coming on your first year, and so thank you for all your hard work. And I mean, whittling down the wait list from 52 to 6 in a matter of 2 weeks is nothing short of phenomenal. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, to echo my colleagues, phenomenal work in terms of getting the situation cared for and supporting the students. I mean, that's what Focus is really doing right by our kids. And the work that you've done has shown that in light of folks not doing their part, as Mr. Jagir had said, and signing up in time and paying on time. With that said, is there a way for those that are questioning, do I have a pass or not? If for some reason, I know if my child rode the bus, I'd ask him and he would yeah, I have it or I don't have it. Is there a way for a parent to check in Aspen to see if they're one of the 6 on the wait list? Because I know in Facebook, everybody was looking at, do I have a pass? Do I have, it's like, you paid, you're all set. So how can they self-serve themselves before reaching out to you all if they have questions?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. In Aspen, I know that we use 2 systems. We use Aspen when they register, and I think on a nightly basis at 5, Aspen feeds the information to our transportation system, which is TransFinder. And it's back and forth. So when we assign the students, that information feeds through Aspen. But the only information that's sent to Aspen is just the bus that the student is on. So if a parent was assigned, if a student was assigned to a bus at 6 p.m. today, tomorrow morning the parent will see that information, the bus information.
Okay.
But the bus passes, we do not have the information.
But if they have a bus number assigned in Aspen, that means they've been assigned to a bus. And in essence, they should have a pass. Or at least they've met the requirement that they're on a bus. It's the physical pass piece that we're talking about.
Gotcha. Okay.
Exactly.
So if there's no number, that means that they're on the wait list.
Yes.
Okay. So I think as long as folks know that, then they can maybe help calm some of the hysteria in terms of, okay, am I one of the 6? Because they can self-service, probably the start of the day just to see where they're at.
Perhaps maybe in one of our future communications, we can add a piece around if you're wondering if you're on the bus, check your Aspen account for the bus number.
Yep.
And we can look at that.
Yep.
Just to make sure that I understand where you're going.
Yeah, thank you. And then just to reiterate the value of the bus. I mean, I know the bus prices is raised, and people are upset. But if you do the math, it comes down to $1.39 one way. I mean, that's $500 for 180 days worth of back and forth, $1.39. You can't get anything for $1.39. You can't get so I don't even know if you can get something on the dollar menu at McDonald's for $1.39. So I think people need to put things into context that they are getting an extreme value for what they are paying. So that's all. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
They call it the value menu now.
No, thank you. That's all there.
Again, thank you for all the efforts in working through this. I know it was a lot. And John, I just want to compliment you personally. There's a couple of instances where I was looped in, just trying to help things move through. And, your approach to it was just very professional, very helpful. And I know people appreciate it. So I want to make sure that everyone does know, there really is that effort behind the scenes just because it's one-on-one. People are happy when their questions get addressed. But really that big picture of all the other folks floating around don't necessarily see it. But there really were some great opportunities to go above and beyond, and wanted to make sure to call that out and make sure that people knew that you really did as much as you could behind the scenes when really no one's no one's able to watch, no one reports back on it because, we like to complain, we don't necessarily like to say the good things. So wanted to take a moment to recognize that, so thank you.
Thank you.
And Erin?
No, just thank you for all the hard work. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Really, absolutely fantastic. I mean, especially the fact that, by the end of the week, thinking that wait list should kind of be completed. So before, we basically kind of went from discovering this issue, and then you kind of just jumping in and tackling it, and before the first bus driver's going to check for that bus pass,
Yeah.
the problem's resolved. So really fantastic. Mr. Jaguar definitely kind of hear all the comments as well, and I look forward to kind of, next year and beyond when the system's in place. But just incredible work, what you did to resolve this issue, even like I said before, that September 16th date. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Information matters. We got budget.
Budget, we'll be having a joint budget subcommittee meeting tomorrow here in the chambers at 7 p.m. So for all 2 of you online and for the 3 people in the chambers here, we hope to see you all there. And our next budget subcommittee meeting will be on the 24th, right before the school committee meeting.
All right, thank you very much. Policy.
Policy, I'm setting the schedule. We just, I made a form I sent over to the admin team. I know some teachers already have their hands on them, so we can crowdfund, so that's a good thing. But I found out through the chair that as a chair of policy, I should be setting the schedule for the year, so I'll be doing that. I didn't know I did that. I was like, when's policy meeting? He's like, you tell me. So I'll get in touch with you, Tina, we'll figure it out.
Community relations.
Yep, so our schedule has been set. We are meeting on the 3rd Tuesday of every month from 5:30 to 6:30. Our first meeting is going to be on October 15th. But before that, we will have Harvest Fest on the 28th, this Saturday. The school committee will have a booth. I have a surprise that we'll have at that Harvest Fest as well that has not been at any other other festivals, so you'll see that when you get there. But same thing as always, just representation from the group will be there. We'll share some information. I think giving timing, it's actually perfect because it'll be right after redistricting line is out there, so folks come out, talk to us, we'll have some handouts, some information, answering questions, that sort of thing. So hopefully it's a beautiful day weather-wise.
All right, terrific. And how about joint PCC?
Joint PCC also scheduled as well. That is also the 3rd Tuesday of the month. So we're doing kind of a double header. That is from 7 to 8 p.m. A little different than before, where before it's usually during the day. But the focus this year will be really on how do we establish the PCCs for success, or set them up for success for the transition. So a lot of it will be just planning and really where the district can guide them, answering any questions, direct them to the right places, that sort of thing. And then hopefully we can get into kind of the BAU stuff after we get, there's a sense of what's gonna happen next.
All right, and SWAC?
SWAC, we're having a farmers market meeting on September 13th.
And mental health and well-being task force.
Our first meeting will be October 8th. I will be sending out communication this week.
Fantastic. And then, Ali had mentioned with the joint BCC, kind of setting up success for the new year. Mr. Jaguar, just in terms of everything with the master planning, we just elaborate a bit on like the liaison.
Yeah, we would be looking for a school committee liaison to help be a part of a tether to connect the work. We are certainly going to be moving. There's so many different aspects of this work related to facilities, to staffing, to assignments, to transportation, but looking to have a school committee representative and or two who maybe would like to engage in this to allow us to be as nimble and flexible as we need to, but also have a direct conduit so that we are still providing in our venue and in our forum of our school committee meetings updates, but also connection to the committee as a whole. Obviously, written communication is sent out and provided, but we would be looking similar to how we have a SWAC representative and we have mental health and well-being representatives, having someone similar in that type of role. So I would ask that you consider appointing or seeking interest and let us know who would be the best person or who you feel like has shown interest in that.
Perfect. And for these, we're thinking about kind of the normal day, you know, like a 9 to 5.
I think what we can do is be flexible with that, but ultimately, we're gonna plan to we have meetings scheduled routinely for different groups, as we'll lay out a little bit next meeting to kind of show you the rhythm of the year, but also we're trying to build in some opportunity for, just like we do with SWAC meeting in the morning or mental health and well-being, we can work flexibly with the committee member, but ultimately, we're trying to move this work and get the right people in the room, so that it's productive as possible and make sure that we're including folks, you know, who are part of our operations within the district, but also having a school committee representative would be welcomed and helpful to the process.
Sure. And so if you're interested and you haven't already, you know, we've had a conversation, feel free to reach out and then we'll start to kind of put those pieces together.
And then maybe, if possible, if you could express interest, we could include it in the 24th as part of additional information that we share to prepare.
If I may, through the chair.
Yeah.
Also, we would like a school committee representative on this, with the CPAC as well. Used to, Elise Stokes used to be on it with us, if we could just think about that for
Can
this
you
coming school year.
say the acronym?
Oh, CPAC is the Special Ed Parent Advisory Council. So it'd be like a meeting every other month, and usually it's around 5:30 p.m. It's just the board.
Every other month in the evening?
In the evening.
Perfect. And so same, if you want to shoot me a message, we'll start to kind of coordinate that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, consent agenda.
I recommend approval of the minutes from your August 27th, 2024 school committee meeting as detailed. I recommend acceptance of the donation of backpacks and school supplies, approximate value $300, from America's Best Defense for supplemental supplies in the district-wide as detailed. I recommend approval of the request for Diane Plouffe to take the music students to see an opera and a Broadway show from April 15th and 16th, 2025 as detailed.
All right, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as detailed?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as detailed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions, discussions? Seeing none, roll call, Gallagher,
Yes.
Griffith,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
O'Neill. Nope, just McNeil.
Yes.
O'Sullivan.
Yes.
Polley.
Yes.
Callahan, yes. Carries, all right, good of the order, opportunity for the school committee to discuss ways in which they feel the board could improve.
I just want to take a second because tomorrow when we meet, one of the things that I've been hearing from parents that are sort of awakened to the idea that, like, what is block scheduling? Does this mean the kids get less time doing certain academics? I think this is something that the public would like to understand. So tomorrow we might be addressing like a little bit of that. Like, you know, when you have a 14-day schedule instead of a 5-day schedule, and that's a result of less teachers in the building and more free time. This is what I'm hearing. I don't know, somebody said we went from a 5 to a 6-day in elementary, so, okay. So I'll just, maybe I'll get with you offline and clear up that misinformation then. Because they were like, you know, one of the repercussions of the under-resourced district is that we're doing all this like block scheduling, and it's really just giving less academic time. And that's a way around it, that's like a creative way that schools can kind of manage. And that's what I'm like trying to better understand it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can talk offline.
I think we could try to clarify, and then
Yeah,
you
and
can
then I can help
circle
people
back, but
understand.
I wouldn't, there's a few pieces there that seem
Yeah.
inaccurate around the type of schedule or block, but there have been changes to our schedule. Just to
Yeah.
I just want to put this out there so it doesn't linger for 2 weeks. There have been adjustments to our schedule. We have seen a decrease in staff over multiple years, and we've made adjustments, but I think the idea of like the schedule itself and it's just
like
it's a little more
new
complex
people
than.
coming into the engagement.
Sure.
Like, they're like, when we went to school, there was a 5-day week. What the heck's going on? Like, real new
Right.
to like the modern day education. And
It's a little
I
more
didn't know exactly
complex
how to
than just a
answer it, so,
simple
yeah.
answer, I think is
Okay.
probably the best way to say it right now.
Yeah. And then I can talk about, maybe creating some sort of policy to help you guys out with like the emails still. I just feel like these emails,
Wouldn't that be
I can't, like, the amount of, it's nice to respond. I don't know what our sort of policy is around, like, you having to respond. Like, I know the teachers sort of do, but, I mean, bandwidth is an issue right now. Like, I just wanna give you guys a little bit of time back and help you with that, so we can talk about that too. Offline. Yeah. And please be respectful to our schools and offer some grace. They're working really hard, so. Any emails that you guys get that are disrespectful are so uncalled for. It's not the majority, so thank you. It's not really the good we were, but, you know.
Okay, thank you very much. Citizens' comments, are there any citizens in the audience, in person or online, who would like to make a comment on an item not on tonight's agenda and falls within the committee's purview? Okay. All right, new business.
New business, next meeting, as discussed previously, our early childhood ECDC, school improvement plan, and the elementaries will present. They'll probably present together, because there's some common threads. And then we will provide a reorganization update with timelines, and by then, the story map will have been posted. That's our plan. And then we'll be sharing out information to give it more context.
All right. Then, with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All those, roll call. Gallagher.
Do we have a second?
Do we have a second?
Yes.
All right, Gallagher's a second.
You have a second and a yes.
Griffin.
Yes.
Charles.
Yes.
Mickey.
Did you
Yes.
find the,
O'Sullivan.
Yes.
Sonpali.
Yes.
Callahan, yes. All